Picked the wrong week to quit sniffing glue.
Hey kids, it's me again. Just a scant few moments since I uploaded the final Quark's Treasure video. And I'm starting on the next project because, as you know, I guess broken record, Wonderfest is coming. And I was looking around what I'm going to have to enter, what I'm going to bring. And here's my quandary, because I always try to get something in the humor category. Well, the humor category is fun because it allows me to stretch and do a model that's not so serious. And but if I tell you the joke, if I show you what I'm building, you know, it's going to be old, it's going to be stale by the time Wonderfest rolls around. It's not going to be a surprise. You know, I know that everybody who goes to Wonderfest doesn't see this video, and everybody who sees this video doesn't go to Wonderfest. So it's a, you know, it's a Venn diagram. There's only a few people who see the video that will go to Wonderfest. So you know, if you go and you see it, you'll get it. You'll know it's mine. But I hope it doesn't spoil the surprise from people when they see it at Wonderfest if it's been on a video. So that's where I'm at. So the joke came from a conversation that I was having last week with, I'm going to drop some names here, with Steve at Cult TV Man, and Paul at Paragraphics, and Cass over at Lake Monsters, and the one and only Rick Sternbach. We have a weekly chat, and we started talking about models, as we often do, and as a result we were talking about the glow-in-the-dark version of the Fly. There's the Fly kit. Well, there's Monarch's coming out with a glow-in-the-dark version. So that got my feeble mind twisted into the idea of what would a firefly look like? What would a lightning bug look like? So that's what I'm doing for the humor category, but it's not going to be a simple version of the glow version of this. It's going to be my own twisted take on it. It involves this guy. Let me see. It involves this guy and a big old LED sticking out his butt. That's what it's going to be, and it's going to be using a strobe circuit to give him a flashing. But what would happen if a firefly fell into the transporter instead of a housefly? That's where we're coming from. I'm going to be scratch building, you know, more details for the head and that kind of stuff, because there's no way in the world I can even try to compete with what Ken Spriggs is doing with his. So I need to take a left turn on mine, and that's where I'm going to be. It's going to be a nice little enjoyable project, I think, that we can get finished before Wonderfest, and it'll be something I can enter in the humor category. So before I start tearing into some of these pieces, let's meet the parts. If Monarch can be celebrated for nothing else, I will celebrate them for the fact that this is the most colorful sprues outside of Bandai I've ever seen. There's no godly reason why. There's no reason why these all have to be different colors. It's just that that's something that they wanted to do. I know that it makes it easier for a small company like Monarch to pack their models if they know they only have to grab one of the blue ones, one of the red ones, one of the orange ones, rather than trying to discern, you know, between 4 or 5 different trees of gray. But this is what the body looks like. You've all seen this kit. Like I said, there are people who are doing wonderful, serious takes on this project, on this subject. That will not be me, friends. I'm going to be doing something goofy with it. Goofy to the point of, here is the head. You've seen the head. I'm not going to be flocking this like Ken did, but I am going to be putting big old bug eyes on either side of it. So that's the kind of fun I want to have. I'm using Elliot Brown's awesome strobe circuit. He sent me this years ago, and I've never found a good place for it. I did find a good place for it now, Elliot, so you'll be happy to know. This is what this is going to be. I'm going to change it to a warm white LED, but basically that's what's going to be lighting up his backside. And we're going to change the arm position. We're going to put a new head on it. We're going to leave this arm where it is, but I'm going to see if instead of making the big hairy hand come up like that, it's going to be down kind of down in a pose like that. So we're going to have some fun. So I'm going to continue to clip off some of these parts and figure out which ones I need to get in and alter. And then we're going to have some fun. Good morning, everybody. It's Thursday. It's the gateway to the weekend. And it's the second day of work on the Firefly. And you're starting to see the contours here. You're starting to see what he's going to look like once I've got it all together. I'm not going to be using a lot of the incidental stuff, the set dressings that come with the kit. I don't think I'm going to use the spider. I don't think I'm going to use the... I might use the tiny fly and change it into a tiny firefly to make it look more like it should. But basically we're going to have something that looks like this. And that's where my switch is going to be, and that's going to house the circuit board and the battery. But you can get an idea of his pose from this, hopefully, and where the light is going to be shining out. I worked on his head this morning in the feelers, and looking at actual pictures of real fireflies is what gave me the inspiration for the head design, because they do have two big old circular eyes, globe eyes on either side, and they've got very pronounced segmented feelers out front, or antennae, and that's where I'm kind of getting this look from. I've taken some aluminum tube with a wire in the center of it and basically just went through it and crimped it with these pliers, flattened it down, and got my segments that way. And of course everything hopefully will look better once it's painted. You can see I've moved the arm down. Instead of this arm being raised, it's been pushed way down. And of course the big important thing is I've got the honking big light coming out of his butt. So right now I'm going to start putting some primer on this to try to get it to a primer stage so I can see where the seams still need some dressing up. And then I'm going to work on throwing the electronics into the box. It's going to basically have a thin wire coming down his leg under the floorboard and then back up. So let's start pulling apart the things we can go ahead and prime and put aside the things we can't. Pay no attention to the eyeballs in here, but I wanted to check, and yes, very nicely the kind people at Monarch made their gauges in such a way that you can use googly eye irises over top of them. These three are this one standard size. This one is a larger one. I can cut the clear bits off of those, and we could do a nice gauge cover for that. Now I don't plan on going overboard with the lighting on this, because that's not the joke. The joke is that his butt is lighting up. But I do want to make this look, somewhat nice. So I'm going to start putting some primer on things like the floor and his pants, which I think are mostly ready. Take the head out. I'm printing up some pinchers to go in his mouth right now, some mandibles. I wanted to make sure that we could do this in such a way that I could glue and wire his glow light, his heart light, on before they attach the top. So we're going to do some gluing and drilling and priming. Okay, it's been a long day. Frustrating, but ultimately fruitful as far as getting the electronics in. Something so simple, it was fighting me all the way, and I can't figure out why. But what we've got is, we've got our man Godfrey here. We've got our Firefly guy here. I'm resisting the urge to call him Malcolm after Malcolm Reynolds, but I don't know how long I would resist that. I think if we ever made this into an actual movie, the natural star for this would be Nathan Fillion as the scientist. But what we've got is something very simple, which is why it's so frustrating that it took so long. We have a big old switch on here on the box. We've got a battery inside there. I was racking my brains trying to figure out the best way to make a door in the back of this. that would, he's not wanting to stand because of the wire in his foot. There we go. I was racking my brains as to the best way to put a door in the back of this, and then I realized if I don't glue the top down, I could just go into there to change the battery. There's no real reason to glue this down. The battery's the only reason I would go in there. So we can, I might end up putting a magnet on there to hold it in place. But for right now, this is done. It's got a big old honking switch in it that when you turn it on, you get the lightning bug effect. I've got the second round of printing for his mandibles because what I had originally printed ended up being too small. I found this nice set of, this is actually a claw of I think of an osprey's foot, but we turn it upside down and you get mandibles out of it. I just need to make them a little bit bigger than that and then glue them on in place. And of course he's got his wild tie here. I don't know why this has such dynamic motion, but it does. So we're going to, the hands are drying in the other room, as is the floor. I need to trim the length of this wire down once I've got everything figured out as to how far things are going to be from each other. This bit of floor, go ahead and take this out, this bit of bulb here, and take this off. I need to shorten this wire down, and I'll know that length once I figure out, once I get him glued to the floor. I can cut it down to a pretty close approximation and then jam that back in there. There's plenty of room to take up the slack inside there. So it's as simple can be. There's a 9-volt battery and a switch and Elliott's circuit board that sits inside the box here, and then it regulates the speed of this strobe. We brought the floor back in. It was outside getting a coat of primer on it. Here is your dad joke for the day. See this floor? You ask yourself, you look at it and you say, wonder what kind of wood that is. Well, it's obviously redwood. It's redwood. I kill myself. Yes, and I know you have people out there wishing I would do just that. But here is how it's going to stand. Now, what I need to do is route the, I'm going to put the control box over here, and then he's going to be standing kind of like this. So actually the space between the box and it going under the floor and coming back up is going to be fairly short. So I need to snip this wire, feed it down through the base. I need to go ahead and get rid of these guys because these points I'm never going to use. Those were the ones that came with the kit for how it was supposed to go. But we'll go ahead and cut those off. Now I need to make the hole in the floor for this, and it's going to kind of overlap off of the floor. So it needs to come up through here, and if he's going to stand like this, then I need to figure out where, probably somewhere around in here is where the hole needs to be for the wire to come back up. Hello friends and neighbors, it's Friday, it's the last work day of the week. It is the last work day this week on my Firefly. I have started massing in some basic colors, and then I started working on the floor, because you know it's a wooden floor. It's going to be, you know, painted like wood. I'm lumbering through the floor painting right now, and I'm going to put a wash on this after it's had a chance to dry. I'm going to put a gloss coat on it to make it look like a finished floor, and then put a wash over it to maybe bring up some grain. But then I am starting to just figure out what color things are going to be. I've settled on a color scheme for our doomed scientist. He's got basically the shiny black shoes that were so prevalent and all the rage in scientific circles in the 50s and 60s. And then he's got some navy blue, bluish black pants. Of course, I will be doing some highlighting on that to bring the color up. I like the muted colors though. I think that's it was almost too black until it started drying, and then the blue started coming out. This is the sea blue, to me a sea blue, and I was thinking, oh, it's gonna be too dark, but then as it dried, the blue started to come out. And then on top of that, he's got a brownish trench coat type of look. I'm going to do the shirt in a off-white, certainly not a white like you would have a clinical white. This is kind of, if I leave the tie red, it's kind of almost looking like a Constantine look, and I don't know if I care for that. So I'm going to obviously be painting the tie a different color with the brown trench coat type of thing. It's a long lab coat. Originally I was going to go with a white coat with a maybe a cool blue accent on it. I don't know if that's how it's going to. I like this brown. I don't know if I'm going to keep it, but I like it for right now. I might go over it with a lighter beige to lighten it up some. And then we've got his head. Now this is where I wanted to make sure that the colors were kind of all speaking to each other. I've got, I'm going to be doing his hair in this is the hand, talk to it. I'm going to be doing the hair part in almost a red ginger color. And I think what I'm going to do is to flock that. Just the areas where his hair would be. So kind of starting right out around here and make a widow's peak in there, and then do around it just to give it some interest. And I wanted to see what his eyes were going to look like once I got the black on them. I think I'm going to put do like I did on my Gorn and use a sparkle paint. Not the canned sparkle paint, actually sprinkling some sparkles on it. Put some glue on it and then put some glitter on it. That's what I meant to say, glitter. Put some glitter on it to make it look like the compound eyes. And then of course we've got the light coming out the back. Not a lot of reds in this build. I'm noticing a lot of blue and browns. So I might want to add some reds into this console. Kind of playing up the idea that it was molded in the red plastic, but I might want to do the sides of the cabinet in either a hull red or some deep color of burgundy, just on the accent colors, just on the walls. But yeah, we're gonna let this kind of dry and set up. I like this color combination. I may lighten up this jacket just a little bit. I don't want to get it so light that it fights with the cream colored shirt. So yeah, looking at the details of an actual firefly head, they do have these big pinchers, they do have big antenna, and they've got big eyes. Other than that, everything else is my own speculation. So that's where we're at. I am nowhere, not even planning on doing anything as elaborate with the setting as what my good friend Ken is doing with his. This is going to be a simple one and done, get the guy on there, play the joke of the lit up backside, and then go on my merry way. So that's where I'm kind of at today, just putting in the base colors, and then I will start refining into next week. And I just kind of placed them all together so we can see how we're going to end up this week. But this is him at the finish point for the week. Got a couple of things I want to do off camera. I want to start the flocking on his head, but I can do that and have it drying for the whole weekend so that Monday when I come back it'll all be good and ready. But this is where we're going to leave it. So take one last look. I don't have him wired up because I don't want to keep going and cutting and re-splicing that wire, and it kind of has to, next time I join it up, it kind of has to be the last time. So that's it for our Firefly for this week. That's it for the first week. I hope you don't mind the short video. I did want to keep to my Friday night schedule of having something to put up, so that's it for today. Come back, join us next week when we will be finishing this up and getting a lot more of the painting done. And work continues at a pace for Wonderfest, coming up darn soon. And since I only talked to you 2 days ago, I don't really have much to say since then. So continue to be good, continue to be nice, continue to be good to one another, and continue to come back next week.